brokenhearted,
Hallelujah.
to preach deliverance to the captives
Yes.
and recovering of sight to the blind, and to set at liberty them that are bruised.
Amen. That's right.
Thank you so much. Y'all may be seated. We live in a world that is watching the church with one raised eyebrow.
Yes.
When actors and actresses they're viewed as doing more to feed the hungry and to fight human trafficking in the
Yes.
church, then we need to take a hard look at what we're
Amen.
doing and ask, is it enough?
That's
Are
right.
we doing enough
That's
to reach
right.
these people
That's
in our
right.
world? And so what I'm going to speak about today might be foreign to some of us, as it was me. I've only known about this for about 5 years now. But I was very sheltered and I lived in a very protected life. I came from a very safe home and a safe town, a safe community. And I never imagined that human trafficking, sex trafficking, all of this would happen in our backyard, in America, in our nation. I just assumed that this was something that happened overseas.
Yes.
And if it did happen here, it was just people being brought in. I didn't think it was happening to our own kids. But to some people here, this might be something that you can relate to. You know someone, you've heard the stories, you've seen it on the news articles and the headlines. So it could quite possibly be a more reality to someone here today. But I was in Houston, Texas. My husband's a crane operator, and he travels quite often. And so I was in Houston visiting him, and we had passed a building, and I just saw the first portion of the name of the buildings we passed. And for the first time in my life, I felt something tell me, you need to find out what that building is. And so we made our way off the interstate and around and back to what that building was. And basically, it was a nonprofit organization that had taken an old brothel and they had turned it into a modern-day slavery museum. And at this time, they were in the very first stages of renovations. So all of the walls had been stripped down, and it was just the boards, the main beams, and they were covered in pages of a Bible. So they told me about the van tour that they did through the streets of Houston. So I took that van tour. And we went down and they showed you things that identified what signs to look for and made people, they tried to make people aware that human trafficking is a reality. It is happening in our streets, and this is what to look for. This is what identifies human trafficking. So when I left, my eyes were opened. This naive little sheltered girl had started to see the world a little bit differently.
Yes.
And I went back to my home church and I realized this is not something that we are talking about as a church in whole.
Amen.
This is not something that I hear enough. And
Yes.
I pray and ask God,
Yes, right.
make me a voice.
Yes.
I don't know very much. I
Amen.
didn't come from the streets, but
Amen.
God make me a voice.
Amen.
And He did. And I wrote this book. I set it down several times. It was very difficult to write. I would go and look for materials to research and study, and I would find one of two things. I would find victim survivor stories that were very graphic, or I would find government agency material which was very dry and boring. And so I wanted to find a medium. I wanted to find something that people would be eager to pick up and it would be easy to read. And so the last time I picked this book up, I prayed, God, you breathe life into this book. Because first of all, you're an author. And you love authors. You wrote 66 books. God, you can help me write this one.
Yes,
And He did. And I'm really pleased with the results of it. I published this book in April of this year, and I just love the ability that I held in Rachel's mind. She just remembered me when I called her, and I made such an impression on her. But when I called her the last time, I knew that this was a woman that God put in my life for a reason. And she has blessed me and helped me, and she's organized my life because I couldn't have done it without her. So I'm so thankful for her. But going back to our scripture in Luke, God declared His earthly mandate in this gospel, which was also written in Isaiah.
Yes.
It talks about He was sent to heal the brokenhearted. He was sent to preach deliverance to the captives,
Yes.
and to recover sight to the blind,
Amen.
and to set at liberty them that are bruised.
Yes.
And He can restore, and He can offer freedom to society's oppressed, the
Amen.
marginalized, the poor, the brokenhearted, the captives, the blind, and the bruised. Before we start to add our hand and our prayers to those that are pushing back the darkness that overshadows around 20 million victims in the world, we must first identify what human trafficking is. And I can get this to work. You may not be able to read that. I might have made it too small, so I do apologize about that. But basically, this is the second or third largest crime in the world. And it profits over 150 billion, with a B, billion dollars every year. And this, going hand in hand with drug and weapon trafficking, is destroying cities all over America. Absolutely. Rachel and I were driving last night back to our hotel, and I asked her, I said, how do you change a mindset? Sometimes, even in what we do, we get those moments where it just feels like you're so small against this monster that we call human trafficking. And so I asked her, I said, how do you change a society? How do you stop the buying and selling of people? And I'll tell you more about a lady and a Pentecostal mother that, a story of her daughter, but I spoke with her last night, and she asked, everywhere you go, tell them, pray for the trafficked sons and daughters, because many of them have aunts and uncles and families and brothers and sisters. And today, when we were worshiping, the presence of the Lord was in this room, and I feel like God answered that question that I asked Rachel last night. And the minister got up and he basically said what I wrote down. He said, worship is the way that the battle is won. And this is the way that we fight. Because prayer and praise and worship wins every fight. So how do we connect that? How do we stop the buying and selling? We cannot make prayer a small thing. But prayer is a mighty tool. And when the Lord is on our side, we can change people's mentalities. People can come in, survivors. People that have been in this lifestyle, they can come in our churches. And if we provide them, if we're ready to help them, and be there and wrap up their wounds, and bind up their wounds, and love them, then God can use us to touch these people and to change their lives. And I believe that. I believe it. So,
thank you, Jesus.
Again, I'm not sure if you can read this, but according to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, there are over 2 million American kids that run away from home every year. And within 48 to 72 hours of these kids being on the streets, 1/3 of them fall into the hands of pornography and prostitution. And that's just real life. That's how it is. Why are these kids running away from home? I like to go back to the root of things. We see a problem. How can we fix it? First of all, why are they running away from home? Some are desperate for love. Some are running away from abuse. Some want acceptance once in their life. So once they found someone that'll listen to them, they found someone that'll promise them something, even if those promises don't come through, someone's finally given them the attention that they're looking for. But the problem is that these kids are leaving a bad situation, but they're falling into a potentially worse set of circumstances. And so we know that they're running into the arms of bad news. That's right. But we have to be like that prodigal father, just like that father that stood there. And when that son came home, and he stunk of the world, and he carried scars, and he carried those bruises that the world gave him. We overlook that, and we love them. And we take them in our arms. And it's quite possible that some of us looked
Yeah.
just like they did.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
very possible that we were those prodigals that came home.
You're absolutely right.
So people are selling people for a profit.
Yes.
We warn our kids in the workshops that we do, we warn our young people to be careful what you post online. Be
Yes.
careful what websites that you're a part of.
Amen.
Be careful what locations that you're telling people, hey, I'm here at the mall today, or posting exactly your locations.
That's
Be
right.
careful what hotspots you use out in public when you put your cell phones onto those public hotspots.
That's right.
Pictures that you post of you and your children. Just be careful. Have privacy settings on your
That's
social
right.
media
That's
platforms.
absolutely right.
Be aware of who your children or who you are speaking to. Are you really talking to who you say you're talking to
Amen.
Come on.
online?
Amen.
Is that person really who they say they are?
That's absolutely right.
So those are just straightforward, down to earth, everyday knowledge. Just you need to be careful online
Amen.
because a lot of the buying and selling happens online today.
Yes.
And so within a matter of minutes, you can pull up some of the vilest things on your phone.
That's
So
right.
we guard our minds
Amen.
and guard our hearts.
Yes.
And just make sure you're careful about what you watch
Amen.
and what you view online.
That's right.
Because pornography and prostitution and human trafficking go hand in hand.
That's right.
Mm.
That's right.
And what
That's
you're
right.
doing is you are viewing people that are trapped.
Yes.
And these people don't want to be there.
You're right.
It's,
You're right.
that's not the lifestyle that they
Exactly.
really, really want.
You're right. You're right.
And so guard your mind, guard your heart, and don't allow this twisted world to get into your kids' lives.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
I want to tell you a story of a young lady. This is a 5th generation Pentecostal girl, and she and I have spoke on the phone. Her mother and I are in regular contact. She received the Holy Ghost when she was 12 years old, and she had a bright future ahead of her, a wonderful family that surrounded her, bright dreams. And in July of 2000, Charlie, I'm going to call her Charlie, she went missing. And they rescued her off of the streets over 14 days later. Discarded, used, wounded, broken. This young lady, one of our very own, was a victim of human trafficking.
Yes.
She's beautiful. That's a picture of her there, a picture of her being baptized.
Amen.
I'm not sure if I have a picture. Yes, I do. Okay. This is a picture of her mother and her. She never fully healed emotionally. There was nothing in her life that she never went into those classes and those counseling and allowing God to put her heart back together and trying to mend and plead the blood of God over her mind and heal her from what happened. And she made a series of bad decisions, and her life began a downward spiral, out of control. And she continued to make a lot of choices that were stemmed from her trauma and from that pain.
Yes.
And tonight, this Pentecostal girl is in California sitting in jail. And she has been in jail for over 2 years now. She's never fully healed.
Amen.
And there she is today. In fact, her parents are visiting her today.
Yes.
And one of our own is sitting in jail because of choices that she made that were not the right choices. But could there have possibly been a moment if the church, or if there was some kind of healing
Yes.
that could have went into her life, could she not be where she is today? And so I just want you to know that our church, we are not exclusive enough that this doesn't happen to us.
That's
Because
right.
it does.
You're absolutely
And it can
right.
happen to our children. You can have the best family. You
Yes.
can have the most perfect life, and yet something can fall apart, and our kids can be victims to this.
Yes.
And I am praying, God, protect our kids. Put your angels in our lives. I was at NAYC, and I used a portion of her story, and I hope that it reached out to those young people.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes.
And there's quite possibly the chance that there was people in that audience that this is happening in their life. and they don't have the ability to speak up, and they don't have the chance to talk about it. And that's what we want to do. We want people, the survivors of abuse, to have the ability to speak up and ask the church to help them. Brother Steve Drury, he came up to my booth after NAYC, and he just asked me a question. He said, "What is a bruise?" And I scrambled for an answer. A bruise, I mean, we all know what a bruise is, but this is his thought, and he made me begin to study, and I'm really thankful that he asked me that question, because a bruise, which is also called a contusion, forms because the soft tissues of your body is bumped. And some people bruise easily, and others have tougher skin. But when the soft tissue is injured, the small veins and the capillaries, the tiniest blood vessels under the skin, break. And basically, things that are injured under the skin, we can't see that injury, but we see the effects of that injury. And we remember the moment of the accident, we remember exactly when it happened, but it might not be until days later that we begin to see something forming on top of that skin. We notice that there's a problem. Isaiah chapter 53 verse 5 says, "He was wounded for our transgressions, and he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed." We use this verse as a faith builder. You guys have heard it all the time. With physical healing needed, God's going to heal you because by his stripes we are healed. Okay, so if we believe that, then we also have to believe the beginning of that verse. He was bruised for our iniquities, for our self-will. He was bruised. He endured eternal sufferings. So those that endure bruisings in our life, internal pains, internal suffering, and we hide those bruises. We hide those internal sufferings from past relationships, broken hearts, bad situations. We cover it up. We don't let anybody see that. We don't want anybody to see our bruises. But if God went through the stripes for the healing of our physical body, then he also went through the bruising of his body so that we can be healed internally. And God can heal your broken heart. And he can heal those situations that you don't allow anyone else to see, and you don't talk about it. But God went through that for you. And he makes a beautiful work of art out of broken things. I'm living proof of that. There's too many stories of people that are brave enough to open up to me and tell me how God cleaned up their life. And chances are there's people sitting right here that you are a testimony of God putting broken things back together. And he can do that. If someone wanted to come and tell me that God can't heal and fix marriages or fix people's lives, you've come too late. Because he can. He can fix situations. Isaiah's last servant song describes Jesus as a suffering servant. And when we pray and fast, as we do, as Isaiah 58 verse 6 promises, he will loose the bands of wickedness. He will undo heavy burdens, and he will let the oppressed. There was a young youth pastor, another story. There were so many stories of people that come up to me at NOIC, and we're so thankful that they had a chance to tell their story. But this young man had been in foster care his whole life, and he was treated more as an income than an actual little boy. And he would bounce from house to house in the foster care system. And he stood before me, and you would have never seen that, but he remembers going to Sunday school as a little kid, and he would see boys with their fathers, and he couldn't understand. He couldn't understand the dynamics of a healthy family relationship. But God put that man's life together. He's married, he has children, he's a youth pastor at a church, and his biggest prayer is that God would give him a van, because he's picking up so many Sunday school kids that he doesn't have room in his vehicles anymore. And I'm thankful because if that was his greatest prayer, then God's brought him a far way. Some suggest that Jesus' passion for the poor was a personal mandate. And it doesn't apply to anything we do collectively. But that's just not true. Because we have to work hand in hand. And church with church to help reach the lost and the broken of our cities. Kingdom ethics, they demand higher levels of relational commitment. It demands sacrificial love. And it demands engaging with the world. And that is something that reflects God's form of mercy. I was, one more quick story. I was recently speaking to a man that's a part of New Beginnings. He is a part of an organization that helps unwed mothers put their babies up for adoption instead of the alternative. And he told me a story that he had found himself sitting across his desk with a young lady, and she was a little Pentecostal girl that was pregnant, and she had went to Planned Parenthood and was thinking of having an abortion, but God's mercy, she saw that baby's heartbeat, and she realized, I can't do this, I can't do this, and she found her way to New Beginnings. And he asked her a question. He said, why? Why did you go to Planned Parenthood before you came to us? And her answer has stuck with me. When her answer to him that he told me, it's never left my mind. She said, it's one thing to ask God to forgive you, and it's a completely different thing to ask the church for forgiveness. And God forgive us.
Hallelujah.
God forgive us. Have we forgot how far He's brought us?
Hallelujah.
Have we lost the sight? We are just sinners.
Amen.
And God, don't let us get started on our story of how far He's brought us. And God, forgive us for ever condemning someone.
That's right.
We have to open our arms to these people. We have to love them, regardless of what they look like, regardless of what they've done. They have a place in our churches. So, I present a challenge to you guys. A challenge to lead with compassion.
That's right.
We can begin all of our tomorrows with compassion for Jesus Christ.
That's right.
And when we see those survivors walk through our church doors, then we have to be ready and willing to meet their needs and to bind up their wounds.
Amen. That's right.
We have to view them with love and mercy from Jesus Christ.
That's right.
So if Rachel would come, I know this was short. I apologize, Brother Dorsey. I hope that somehow I've been able to shed a little bit of light on what human trafficking is, what it looks like, who it affects, and that this crime can affect each and every one of us. And through the power of prayer and fasting and unity, spiritual chains can be broken. Lives can be healed and restored. I believe it. Lives can be restored. We can have revival. We can redeem those lost and broken souls. And if what we're doing, I wish I would have been here to go on outreach with you yesterday, but if what we're doing isn't enough, then today's the day. There's a challenge before us. We can go and we can reach this city. Every person that you see has a story out there. And God wants to turn their lives around. And He wants to do a great work through you. He wants to use your hands and your feet. There's not one of us that's inadequate because we all have a voice. God waits for you with open arms. He wants to touch you. He wants to put situations back together. He wants to put your life and your family back together. And He can't do that. I'm going to turn this back over to Brother Dorsey. God bless you so much.